slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No I'm not giving up, no I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
It's one of those, isn't it? Like if you sign somebody now, they can't play next week. So you pointed that out before. It's just a whirlwind. I mean, we talked about it before. The thing that Maida actually would do a pretty good job through the middle as well. I'm assuming that Whiff is looking for a winger, that Jota's not going to be the only player that's going to be coming in, because this is like it's a good swap. I think if you're going to sell on Furuhashi, because you're getting a guy who's younger and we know he's done it before. Everybody loves him. I've got my Jota top on. I've dug it out. Look, you can see it. I've got my Jota top on. I kept it. I was like, but I think we need a striker in as well, to be honest. But we've needed another winger all season as well, so it addresses that other position. But I mean, like after like all the emotions and everything, I just couldn't get my head around just thinking like just watching a game with Maeda, Kuhn and Jota just running at people and doing their stuff. Like I just like it's exciting, and all the emotions. So
exciting, certainly the word for it. We're live first thing this morning as the news was kind of breaking and like crystallizing into being news rather than rumor. You know, developments rather than speculation. And we cracked out the old tactics board, McBride, to have a look at the depth chart. So I make you quite right. And it's probably a good point to throw this on screen. So this is the Celtic squad, if reports are to be believed, as we find it at the moment. I've kind of crawled Dyson into this space a little bit, because I think right now that's probably the way it's going to be looked at. You know, I've said in the stream this morning, McBride, you would have to be the best scout in world football to find a Kyogo replacement better than Dyson Maeda. That is like just the same kind of guy, you know. So it kind of feels like the replacement is kind of here in a very cliche kind of way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's good they can play the two positions as well. I think you remember when him and Jota was, Brendan refers to him as, hello Brendan, if you're watching, Joto's coming out. Well done.
Yeah.
But I remember like that, like the cup final against Rangers where Joto, where like Maeda, like when they switched, and Maeda like harassed somebody and crossed it in, and Joto scored the header. But I mean, it gives you loads of options in there, and he's just a quality player. I mean, like I was hugely gutted when he left as well, because I think with this thing with Furuhashi, in a way, you've been sort of preparing for it, because there's been all this stuff about Atlanta, sorry, not Atlanta, and there's been rumours and there was talk of Man City in the summer and everything, and with him, becoming a bit older and things, it kind of makes sense to sort of cash in at some point if he wants to go as well. If he just said, look, I want to stay here, I want to see out my career here, I'm dead happy, I don't care, like you don't always think about the resale value and stuff, but maybe he just did, he just felt as if he'd done everything he could do here, and he wanted to move on. So, or his agents turned his head or whatever, you know what agents are like. So it's crazy, just crazy feeling. But like when you look at that, like you're getting somebody a proper quality in who's scored goals in the Bernabeu and Leverkusen away, like his Celtic Rangers games, cup finals, like everything. So in the song, we can start singing the song again. Yeah, man. I hope the game's not off on Saturday, so I want to go and have a couple of pints and enjoy a game on Saturday. But
let's hope not. For sure. And yeah, we've updated the board to say Yotto. And I think like when I was having a look at this earlier, McBride, like the quality of player that we're bringing back in Jota, like Jota on the left. Like, so part of the thing as well, right, is when we had Jota the first time, we had to play Dyson on the right because Jota was just way better on the left, and it was kind of like Abada was floating around, and sometimes Maeda would play on the left, Abada on the right, and you would kind of rotate who was on form and who wasn't for the most part. I don't see that happening this time. Like, I don't see Jota, Maeda and Kun job sharing the wings. I really, if it does, brilliant. It kind of lifts the level of depth or whatever. But it does mean then that we need to really be pushing the boat out for a full-on Kyogo replacement in the transfer market for our striker. But if we just pause on that for a second, Jota on the left, Kun on the right. Have the wings ever been better?
Let's maybe going back to Jimmy Johnson or whatever then. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it looks, see a comment there, could it be bullshit? I think it's looking concrete. I mean, it's like being announced basically by Romano that it's done and he's on his way over, and Furuhashi is in France and everything as well, so it's a really good source. And by the way, you've missed Kieran Tierney off the board. Where's KT?
Well, I don't want Rodgers to fall out with us, But yeah, we could probably just do this, couldn't you, just for the sake of illustration? Valley for Tierney, we expect Valley to go to Como.
Yeah, it's not exactly like the best kept secret in the world, that one, is it? Like, obviously you don't want to be disappointed and getting your hopes up and all that sort of stuff, but I just think back to that point. Remember when Celtic were trying to sign Jota before, and he was on loan, and he had that thing where he was all around the world, and that day where he was signing and everything. And yeah, I hope they do the welcome video on the Brazen Head. That would be that would be absolutely sensational. But
double denim, bumblebee top, down the brazen.
Yeah, Brendan,
and like proper like a Danny Boyle movie in terms of like they'll make it a bit cinematic and all, a bit gritty, a bit train spotting-y, and like flickering lights, and just this guy walks in, with the collar up and
amazing. Anyway, as long as he actually signs, like that would be that'd be absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I mean, like he could potentially be about for Saturday, and yeah, I mean, I guess we've got a small issue for Aston Villa away, but we're through, and we'll come back to obviously last night now, but we're through. We've done the business last night, whether end up closer than we expected or whatever, but we're there. We're in the latter stages of the Champions League, and maybe that's the type of thing that lets us do these deals as well, because these guys will be coming in and good wages and the like as well, but the money side of things has been looked after in a lot of ways by outgoings and also by how we've done. You know, you get money for winning last night, you get money for progressing in the Champions League, whatever. You know, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so it's like lots going on. It's like multi-dimensional what's going on right now in terms of trying to handle this. It's not just that we're losing a player, and normally in this kind of situation, we do feel like we're getting mugged off because maybe like guys in the last 6 months of their contract, or they're not signing a new one, and we're falling out with them. Like, get out of here, you, or whatever. But like you mentioned, the graffiti has been on the wall with us for a while, with the change of agent and the loose links that we've had already. We were on here not too long ago talking about the Atlanta United thing that you referenced, like no smoke without fire. So it feels like it's kind of been in the offing. I've heard a lot of people kind of rubbishing Ren in terms of his destination, and I kind of get that for the most part. But I do think for Kyogo, for all the Japanese lads that make it over from Japan to Europe, their number one objective, or probably their top 3 objectives, are Champions League, trophies, and top 5 leagues. You know, we've seen Nakamura be left for us to go play for Espanyol or something like that for like 6 months before he went back to Japan. And that was, I know we got him from Reggiana in Italy, so it's maybe a little bit different with Naka, but these guys value just going to one of the top 5 leagues and just being a part of that, you know, to some extent, proving themselves, you know, that they can operate at that level. And Kyogo over the years has had interest from the Bundesliga, maybe not as much France. Certainly MLS has came up more recently, but he's a guy that, you know, at 30, I've heard some chat as well, McBride, and this is something I've not factored into at all, but he wants this move apparently to help his World Cup chances, because he's not getting in that World Cup team at the moment. But if he goes and starts playing for Rennes every week, where like Junya Ito, Kaito Nakamura, these guys are at Rennes and getting into the squad ahead of him, then surely he's got to do his chances no harm at all. So if he's eyeing up that World Cup, as well as like, I'm 30, still playing in Scotland, I want to play in a top 5 league, then this move is probably the best thing for all involved, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's a shame, but that's, people don't regard our league as that good. And standard wise, when you see a lot of the teams' performances in Europe, you know, you can understand that. And there's a wee bit of a kind of one-sided, what's a one-horse race kind of this season, but a lot of times it's a 2-horse race, and you know, we've got all that sort of side of things. So yeah, I mean, I do understand that. Even like, you know, sort of Matt O'Reilly, people even in Denmark were going mental when he wasn't in the Danish squad as well, you know. And there's a lot of managers just kind of overlook certain leagues, or they want to see that people are playing at or against the highest level. So I don't know who's been driving it. Maybe even from our point of view, you know, it's been one of those. He's not been firing as well, you know. Like you know, if he was banging in the goals and he was looking really sharp, he does look sharp, but he's been like missing a lot of chances, and there's been a lot of times where he's not 100% looked himself as well. You know, his movements like unbelievable, but you know, sort of missing chances and things, and maybe a bit segregated for the team in terms of the system. Certain games hardly getting any touches and things. So yeah, it's maybe just the best move all around. And you know, it might not be his last move either. You know, he might go to Rennes. Might work out, might not work out. He might maybe still get a stint in the MLS in a year or two's time. He's not that old, but in terms of resale value or whatever, then he's getting to the stage where realistically a year or two's time Celtic are not really going to get any sort of fee for him, or maybe would leave in a free if he didn't want to sign a contract. So from a business point of view, aye, but I mean, obviously nobody's thinking about the business point of view tonight. You're thinking about Champions League progression, who's coming in, who's getting out, the weather warning tomorrow, all that sort of emotional stuff, not how much the money is. But there we go.
And Doc Boy here saying, surely Celtic qualifying will entice a better quality of player. And I think we are like evolving, you know. If we were a Pokemon, we'd be going from like the little one to the medium one at this stage, you know. We're leveling up. We're like a Champions League club now, quite firmly established, you know, where, you know, I've seen the reports we're having to pay like basically the same fee for Kyogo, for Jota, and teams aren't letting us away with £2 million bids anymore. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, there's a lot of kind of evolution on it. The only concern I've got around Jota, someone kind of mentions it in the chat here in a roundabout way, on a permo here. The only concern I've got is he has made a fat bag of cash, and when he was here, he was hungry. You know, is he still that? I'm sure he's going to be back in love and give everything when he's here. Don't get me wrong, but there is that different kind of cutting edge when you're still trying to like get your first big contract or get a big move, and he's kind of like, he's obviously quite jaded and disillusioned, I would say, over the last year or two. But it's the only kind of slight concern I have. There's another thing I want to say on Jota, but I want to get your thoughts on the motivation, the appetite, the lack of action he's had. Is there something we should think about, worry about Jota, do you think?
But I can understand why people say that. I mean, obviously went for the money, and he's not the only person to do that, and that happens quite a lot. He's obviously shown a desire to actually come back, which is good. He's not. We're not signing him when he's 35. He's still a young man. It didn't really work out in terms of where he was going, but you do get guys where they just find their level or they find their club and they're just really good. I mean, you see a lot of times you maybe guys who maybe no more recent ones, but guys who maybe leave from Ajax, go to English Premier League clubs. Sometimes guys go back, it's like Bergwijn or whatever, back to Ajax, and he was doing really well for a while. And it's one of those things. Like I'm not worried about it because I think that there's a real competitive edge and environment and everything there. And maybe actually that's what he's been missing a bit as well. Giacomakis went to MLS. He slated them, said that he didn't like it. It wasn't the right setup or whatever. And, immediately moved to Mexico. And they actually made a slight profit on him as well, I think. So maybe we could have got a wee bit more when we sold him on. Maybe it was dollars and euros and pounds, all that type of stuff, but slight profit. So I'm not worried about it. I mean, we know what we're getting. He's went away for a bit. He's not been so successful in terms of what he's been doing there. But that doesn't mean that might not be reinvigorated by being back here. And if anybody last night, the atmosphere and everything was incredible. And you could see in the first half, the team were really sharp. There was an impetus, and that was brought by the occasion, the atmosphere, just generally the Champions League, want to get through. There was no kind of slackness or whatever in the first half. It was like Celtic played really well, So if there is any of those elements of things creeping in, I think he'll quite quickly get right back into it.
I hope so too. And always motivated to kind of, restore his own reputation, because it's quite widely accepted at this point out of some, I don't know what podcast or what the leak was for it, but it's quite well known at this stage that I think that they bought the wrong Jota. Like they thought they were buying the Liverpool guy and they made some sort of comical faux pas. There's two things there's one I wanted to touch on before I handed it to you there, so I'll just come to that real quickly. And when I was at the press conference for Brendan Rodgers and Callum McGregor pre-match, it was in the Number 7 restaurant, which, me and you have acquainted a few times, we know how it goes in there. And you'll remember this. It kind of got my attention the other day. But on the back wall of the Number 7 restaurant, they've got a bunch of pictures of number 7s, Jimmy Johnson, Henrik Larsson. There's 4 of them. I forget who the third one is. It's maybe, I was going to say it's maybe Di Canio. It probably isn't. But the other one is the current number 7, which is Lewis Palmer, right? Jota coming back. Let's just say this right now. Palmer, that shirt's no yours anymore, wee man. And we give that to Jota. Let's just call a spade here. Let's not stop Jota getting number 7 because fucking TikTok dancer is still here, Let's take that blooming shirt off him and give it to the Jota. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Celtic were quite close to a deal to get Palma out as well. There's somebody who's going to a Spanish club and there's some sort of issue with transfer bans and things. So, and obviously it's a hard time of it from a personal point of view, and it's nothing against him. He's done well at certain points for Celtic, but just doesn't really suit the way we play at the moment. He's not really a winger. Seems like kind of playing out of position. He would definitely contribute to certain things. It was a bit like maybe when David Turnbull was here, everybody in Sorare, why is Turnbull not playing? He scores amazing. He scores loads of goals and everything. You're like, yeah, but you get a style of playing. You've got a way, the manager wants to integrate players in, and you want to press, or you want to do this, you want to do that. So I'm still like slightly like stunned that all this stuff's actually even happening, because you hear a lot of rumours about previous players coming back and you think that's not really realistic, but it's just like, well, he used to play for Celtic and that's a good rumour to put out because it'll generate a lot of interest or whatever, but it genuinely is happening. And the fact that he wants to come back, I mean, it could be that he's just went over there and he's earned loads of money and he just realised that, okay, I've earned more money over there, or he's set or whatever, but he's missed all those things because, remember those days where he was scoring a goal and he's standing up and he's giving it the whole thing with the crowd. Like, it just, like, I think he loved all that stuff, and that's his stage.
Yes, there's a few things coming up off the back of that. I've just got this comment here. Sampaoli, who is the Rennes manager, like, bombed out Jota, and funnily, coincidentally enough, Glenn Kamara, almost immediately upon arrival, said, "You guys aren't for me," and they've been in the shop window ever since. I was going to bring this up. It wasn't my pal Harry. It was Mark Patrick Rare, I'm sure, that brought this one up. So they're now going to be in the same squad. So we'll firmly see mano a mano, Jota versus Palma. We'll finally find out who is the better player, you know, who gets selected, who stays and who goes, and all that good stuff.
Maybe there would be. Maybe Palma will still be moved on, Quinny, or maybe he'll stay for the next couple of months, then he'll move on in the summer, because there's a sort of, like, we're getting through multiple windows and everything here, and there's a kind of real feeling that Brendan's putting his sort of stamp on the. I used to smell people's seats. That's a weird thought to have in my head. I thought this day was really proper bonkers, but that's went even more bonkers. But lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Palma? I can't even know what I'm talking about anymore, honestly. What was I talking about?
We were talking about Mark Patrick Rare, Palma versus Jota.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously looking pretty much just from a sort of stats point of view, but I think Jota is one of those players as well where it wasn't just about stats, if that makes sense. Like, he just the overall stuff that he was doing, you know, just his importance. I remember a game at home against like Aberdeen or something, and it was like 1-0 or 0-0 or something, and it was like one of those that was kind of going a bit flat, and he just absolutely just hit one right into the top bag from about 30 yards out, and you know, just that type of stuff. But I mean, I like the prospect of him and Nicholas Kuhn there. And you know, let's be realistic about it. If we get to the summer, Nicholas Kuhn's a man demand as well. You know, big bid comes, then there's still going to be maybe a bit of turnover in the team. It's the way it is. Like, but if we can get a younger striker in than Furuhashi, and we spend that money well, because there's never a guarantee you're going to spend it well, or that the person will settle in or handle the pressure or score as many goals for Ash or whatever, then, you know, you don't know. But the model clearly has worked a lot, and look at where we are. I mean, Brendan's properly putting his stamp on the team, and, you know, it's brought us some success. We're still winning trophies. We're winning the league out of the park. We're in the later stages of the Champions League. Brilliant.
I'm buzzing for it. I've just put this back on because, again, some of the chat's coming back around. I put Stephen Ray's comment up on screen here to go alongside the Palma Jota chat. I think Palma's contributions are just pure. I don't want to say fluky, right? Because he's obviously got great technique, but I think they paint a very inaccurate picture of him. Hence why no one has come in for him, because those stats, if you could back them up with the eye test, somebody at the bottom, you know, let's be real with it. There was some chat that came out last week.
What's that? Jota's posted it. He's posted it on Instagram. It's time to come back home. Let's get the picture. Yes! Come on.
That's it, we man.
Get the Jota and the wing song on. Come on, make us cry again, Quinny. Let's go. Oh, I cannot believe it.
There's a lot of chat talking about Odsonne Edouard. His contract is up in 6 months. Okay. Now, for me, I've seen a fair amount of him in the Premier League for as little as he's played there. I wouldn't be having Big Eddie back, to be honest with you. Like, I think from what we've got used to with Kyogo, with Maeda, even like, I was going to bring Johnny Kenny into the conversation here, because the slight cameo we've seen of him against Ross County, the glimpses that we've all seen in the Conference League highlights, like, I'm not saying he is Kyogo or anything like that, right? But if you were to have a training partner that kind of resembled Kyogo, it would probably be somebody like Johnny Kenny, you know, quite nippy, quite direct, rather fearless. So I think somebody like Edouard, I think he's not really... Is he much different to Ida, really, in all things are equal? Maybe not, I think. But I just don't know. I think Edouard would feel like a downgrade up front, like, in terms of how he fits into it would feel like he would hold people back, I would think, you know?
Yeah. I think Edouard probably, on the face of it, looks like a better finisher than Ida was. When you remember Edouard, he was the record scorer, I think, for France under 21. So when we signed him, he was an exciting prospect, and he'd a lot about him. Maybe he came across as it was just kind of the natural his style, his demeanour came across. Sometimes people would call him lazy or whatever. Sometimes people said when he was going that season, did he down tools? There's all those accusations. Clearly a good player, but it's not really sort of worked out for him. I don't know if him coming back it'll be the same thing. I think and he's obviously a quality player, and you've got to consider that type of move, particularly in a free transfer. But it's going to come with signing on fees, going to come with big wages, all that type of stuff. I don't think that's really the route to go down. But like the chance to sign Jota back is just, I mean, like one of my with Furuhashi, we see Furuhashi's in the wall behind me, right? Obviously, one of my most favourite players recently. Maeda's just turned himself into a huge cult hero. He's absolutely sensational. But Jota was I was equally as upset when all that Saudi. I mean, I was actively on social media saying that's a load of rubbish and he'll not go to Saudi Arabia. I was totally in denial, and then turned out to be true. And then he done those wee videos and stuff, and I cried for much longer than I did today about Furuhashi. So I mean, I just, if we can get Jota back and get him firing, that's a huge positive. But you don't always need to go back to these guys, but there's a willingness for guys like Tierney, etc., to come back. Then that also says a lot about the club. And as you say, we're attracting these guys back because we've got a top manager, because we're the setup, because we're in the Champions League. Might not be the best league in the world playing Scotland, but you're winning trophies. But a huge football club. So there we go. Maybe people go away and they just realise that they're missing some things there that they didn't see.
I think sorry, I thought you were done there. It just broke up on me for a second. But I was going to say, like you say there, you need to get used to it. It's more than just playing in Scotland, because we are firmly, and this isn't anything, it's quite different being a Celtic fan and saying out loud, we're a mid-table team, and being happy with it, right? But when the Champions League is one master table of 36 teams, we want to be a top half team. We're sitting bang on the bubble right now, bang on halfway. And I've been talking about it in all the content that we've been putting out here on the channel over the last couple of weeks, but over a 4-season period, over a 5-season period, however you want to look at it, we should be in this zone 3 out of 4 times, 4 out of 5 times. There's always going to be that occasion where we're not fixture proof yet. I think if we've got Leipzig's fixture list, we would probably find ourselves round about here as well. Be real with it, So you've got to legislate for that. But for the most part, 3 out of 4 seasons, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, whatever. This is where we're going to live now. 10 Champions League games a year, fingers crossed, touch wood, and all that caper. But it's winning titles. It's not just about playing in Dingwall 4 times a year, playing Hearts 4 times a year, and all that caper. It's 10 Champions League games, getting to these knockout games, really strutting your stuff and pushing the boundaries, and we'll see how it goes. We mentioned in the preview, we've got the Aston Villa game up after Dundee this weekend. And Aston Villa, McBride, are only 1 point ahead of us. And they are in a position of saying, we want to beat Celtic so that we finish top 8. Well, I know we're missing Dyson, we're missing Kyogo now as well. We're going to be backs against the wall in some cases. But if we pulled off a bit of a shock, which whenever we beat one of the teams from England, everyone thinks it's a shock anyway. We could, some results need to go in our way, but we could end up on 15 points. And then where does that leave you,
Well, we got a draw against Atalanta. And I would say watching both teams, Atalanta are a better team than Aston Villa, which isn't the biggest statement to make. I mean, they won the Europa League last season. But if you look at that table, Quinny, somebody said to you when all the fixtures went out that Celtic would be above teams like Man City, Paris Saint-Germain, you'd have the same amount of points as Real Madrid, etc. Somebody, and Jota was coming back, somebody would be saying, the men in white coats have turned up at your door here, by the way, right? They're here to take you away to the lunatics asylum. I mean, it's a really competitive table, and 12 points is a, we got some favourable fixtures, okay, but you've still got to win the games. And the home form has been a lot better as well, which was what we talked about, that sorting that out. Okay, you can maybe sneak the odd point here or there away, but not a lot of teams have good away records in the Champions League. It's just not possible. It's quality competition, so you look after your home games and you give yourself a chance. But yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant position to be in. There's no doubt about it. And along the way, it's generated revenue for the club as well. And that's maybe why we're able to do some of these deals now, which is brilliant, because that's what you want to do when you're building, moving the club forward. Still, hopefully, a bit of money there to, you know, do some other business as well, because it looks like it's a straight swap-ish type deal where Furuhashi's going and Jota's coming in, but we've sold Bernabei in this window for a profit as well than what we paid for him. There's been some other deals backwards and forwards and stuff as well. So I think it's really positive overall. And it'll be a tough game next week. Villa are a established English Premier League team, you know, so they're a good team. They've got a manager who does well in Europe and everything, but we'll know we can down there with the reserves for a wee party and stuff like that. The fans might be partying in some way, but the players will be switched on.
No, and I'm not saying at Brown Warrior like we should be fearing Aston Villa, but we are missing Maeda and Kyogo for it, you know, so we're playing Kun, Ida and Yang, basically. That's what we're going there with. That's the main, like, can we upset the apple cart element of that, you know? So I think all things being equal, if it was the team that played last night, bring them on, you know what I mean? Let's go for it. We'll camp in and counter-attack with Dyson and Kyogo all day, but obviously that's not going to be the case. Progression achieved. Yeah, keep it going. That's it, Maestro. We're living in a new time and a new world. And the Young Boys game, McBride, it almost felt like deja vu more than anything. On that note, guys, there's about 250 of you with us on YouTube. Only about 40 of you have hit the like button. I don't know if you know this. You're Celtic fans, you probably should. But the magic numbers on this channel for the likes is, first of all, we need to get to 67. Then we need to get to 88. And then we need to get to 119. So we're only at 40 there now. So, guys, can we get to 67 likes? Can we do it? Are we having a good time here? Let it be known. Let's YouTube know that we're having a good time. And they'll find some more jungle gyms to come and hang out with us. And we'll have some fun. So hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. But yeah, McBride, it was close to feeling like deja vu. We've maybe not had that amount of disallowed goals and all the rest of it. But like I've seen in the build-up, if you've been a Celtic fan long enough, you've seen a game like Maribor, like Rosenborg, like Molde, like Malmo. The list goes on where it's close, but then it gets robbed away from you at the end, or we just shoot ourselves in the foot or whatever. And it kind of, you know, we were scintillating in the first half, but when it got to the second half, it did start to get that way, like, oh no, it's one of those games, isn't it? Oh no, it's one of those nights.
We kind of brought that on ourselves. I mean, like, we looked like scoring a lot. Obviously, we scored several goals, we were all offside. And you thought, we've got the penalty, that's a breakthrough. Then we missed it, which is entirely our own fault. We missed a penalty. So it kind of felt like we sort of drew that back onto ourselves. Because I think if you got one of those goals, the way the team was playing, you would have on scored 2 or 3. But naturally, when it's 0-0, I don't think there was any, like, fans-wise around, I don't think there was any overly groaning or tension or anything. I didn't feel that myself. I had 5 or 6 pints of Moretti, so maybe I'm just not feeling it. But like, it wasn't like one of those nights. I thought the fans were quite patient overall, and then when we got to the end, you know, maybe there was that wee spark, like, you know, Schmeichel having the double save and stuff like that. They kind of kick up the backside, but felt like the last 10 minutes the fans were getting boisterous again. They were like, you know, we believe we can still do it, that type of thing. And we got over the line, but we were well deserved. If we would have won that game 2 or 3-0, nobody really would have questioned that in any way, Quinny, would they? We played well enough, played brilliant in the first half. Just didn't translate into goals that were kept as goals. So
that was the finest of margins, and I thought the penalty was like just deserved, because Maeda should have got a penalty. I thought the penalty we got was way softer. I don't know if you remember the Maeda one, because it's kind of really been forgotten about in the aftermath. But Maeda should have got a penalty and all the disallowed goals, like you say. I thought, like, see the first half, it's that type of performance that makes me think, yeah, we have progressed. Like, we are like a team that can be like shooting in this realm that we're talking about here. And it does every time I feel that we're doing that well. That's so well. When I feel that we're doing so well in that sense, it always makes me feel like huge opportunity missed against Bruges and huge opportunity missed against Zagreb. We just looked at the table there. Imagine we'd picked up another 2 points in any one of those games, and we're currently sitting on 14 points, which would have us in joint 7th with Atalanta.
Yeah,
that was the case. if we picked up an additional 4 points from those 2 games, it would have us on 16. We would currently be in the top 5. So slight march. But I think like if the second half was like the whole game, I wouldn't feel quite the same about it. But that first half was like on it. Like we're here, we're a cut above, and we're going to make sure we get the job done and win it. And obviously, it's not really the way it panned out in the fullness of time, but we were electric. Back heels, flicks over the corner, McGregor driving through the middle. First half had everything. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant, honestly. I mean, I think you can go either way in those things. Like, Leipzig nearly went 2-0 up at home, and Bruges scored a goal that we got fortunate was chopped off. Otherwise, Bruges would win 2-1. So I think we're there or thereabouts in terms of what we actually deserve based on the play and how we've done. So I don't think we can really have any complaints. But I get you, we're within touching distance, and I think that what happened last night was kind of a wee bit symptomatic of Furahashi's recent spell. He started to look sharper again, but when he's offside, he's blotted it into the net. And when he's been onside, he's blotted it over the bar or hit the goalkeeper, or he's tripped up, or he's had the wrong boots on, or it's not really been happening for him. Now, that might be a mindset thing. It might be, I felt when he had that really bad challenge where he got knocked out, his confidence went a wee bit. It could just be things like that. Ida looks as if he's not got any real confidence at the moment. I've never seen anybody in my life celebrate a big chance missed as much as he celebrated that. I mean, it's like, anyway, you'll take them if people are giving you some sort of credit for that. But yeah, I mean, there was loads of. I mean, I thought Hatate was unbelievable last night. I thought he was just like he can be a frustrating player because he can turn up and he can do that sometimes against Leipzig, or he can do that last night, and then he can go games where he's a bit frustrating. But he was awesome last night, and we looked really, really sharp. We were playing good football. We were moving the ball quickly. It wasn't a lot of the passing the ball about at the back. It was was a real view of getting the ball forward. There was balls coming in for the wide areas. There was movement. It was just a really good Celtic Champions League night, but just didn't really translate into getting 1 or 2 goals up, and then it'd have been party time because everybody would have been, the fans would have been sort of rocking type thing. But there was just a small tension there with the fans because everybody knew we really needed a result type thing as well. You say the backup plan is going to have to go and beat Aston Villa away, and nobody really fancied that, did they? It's like, well, we're going to have to do it tonight. But the realistic thing is we've qualified with a game to spare, which is absolutely brilliant.
It is. It's definitely dreamland stuff because, well, I projected this to do quite well when I went through all the results. I fancied us to get some points that we haven't got and some points we did get I didn't think we would get, like Atalanta away, for example, and 1 or 2 other ones. But yeah, as a campaign as a whole, it's really hard to argue with overall how the cookie has crumbled for us. And hopefully, like the comment said originally that brought us onto this, like we should be attracting a higher caliber of player, a better caliber of player. There's a lot of links as well to Matthias Kvitsgarden back in and around the zeitgeist once more. I also seen maybe about a week, 5 days ago, a tenuous kind of link putting us back in the frame for Gustav Isaksson. But I think, like, I've not seen enough of Kvitsgarden, right? But I don't think he's a Kyogo striker replacement type. We can look at him in more detail. I did it earlier today if anyone wants to go check that out. But seems to play kind of behind the forward, like 2 guys that are kind of roaming into space and attacking the wide areas. And Isaksson, of course, wouldn't be a Kyogo type replacement either. So I'm not too sure there is an identified target. It's certainly not one that's in the rumour mill, because I think you'd probably be able to do 1+1 at this point quite quickly and go, well, they're probably leaning towards this guy. It might be Kvitsgarden, but I'm not convinced on positional.
Yeah. It might not be quite the same type, but as you said, like Maeda's the one guy that could fulfill that role there. So maybe it's just that what we do is we move him into that role. He's still there, you can still use him in that other role where he feels if you need the wide pressing or, that type of game. But you move Maeda through there. He's been more prolific this season, Maeda. He's added more goals. That goal he scored at Hampden was unbelievable. I was just Captain Chaos stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think Kvitsgarden I think he'd be a good signing if you look at his like general data and how rated he is there. If that's where you want to
There he is.
put down your money, then I think that would be a good move. And we're a better team than Brøndby as well. Brøndby are sitting about. They just come on so rare actually. So believe it or not, I bought Kvistgaard's first card earlier, Quinny. So
I can believe it because I ran you up on the auction.
It's in the packet as well, so I might be able to open it as a Celtic one as well. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, like Brøndby will be a selling club as well, realistically, So this is the type of business we should be going. How many times have we been talking about things we're saying we should be going and picking off the best talents from some of the other leagues? A lot of these teams don't do that well in Champions League or whatever. Maybe they get in, they're huge underdogs, and now we've found ourselves in a position where we think we're a kind of mid-table Champions League team. But if you look at budgets and you look at the league strength and you look at the players we've got, then that's all right. We're not expected to win the Champions League, but if you go and get these talents, then every so often you might have a team that just sort of surprises people. You get years where, like Club Brugge, for example. I remember that year they hit the bar, or they'd been in the quarter or the semi-finals against Milan or whatever. The Ketelaar hit the bar, and then he ended up getting his move. So you've got stuff like that. Could be incredible. So if we're going down that route where we're starting to spend 7, 8, 9 million on the best young players from some of those leagues like Scandinavia, etc., then that's still a very exciting time, I think, to be a Celtic fan, because everybody will be gutted about Furuhashi going. Every time you watch one of those montages, there'll be a tear in your eye. But realistically, Matt O'Reilly left, and I love Engels. I think people are quite harsh on him sometimes, a bit of a learning curve there, but he's like stepped up a lot recently. I think he's looked a lot better, and he's a different type of player. So there'll be other exciting talents hopefully coming, and with these guys moving on for big fees and stuff, that encourages good young players to come, because Kvistgaard's probably think, well, if I go to Celtic and I'm banging in the goals there, then it could be me that's getting a move to the English Premier League or whatever. And fans don't really want to think about that, but that's the way players think about progression in their career. That's a stepping stone. I go for Denmark, I go to Celtic, I go from Celtic, then I go to one of the top 5 leagues, and that's what people do when they go to Porto or they go to Benfica, and then they sell them for big fees and they move on to like Paris Saint-Germain or Liverpool, like obviously like Darwin Núñez and stuff like that. So that's our place. That's the best that we can realistically expect. And amongst that, if we get a couple of absolute gems, we might start upsetting the apple cart a bit as well. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to give everybody hell when they come to Parkhead and take some scalps.
Yeah. And in that kind of vein, I've seen this earlier on one of the shows, I forget which one it was, but if we continue on this vein, eventually we're going to sell somebody for like 50 or 60 million. And when we do that, that will be us big boys. That'll be us like out of nursery, and we are playing with the big boys now. We can sell to the big player. We can get the big fees in. We can do all this stuff, and then we can be the best version of Celtic possible. And I do think well, I better message him and ask him, but there's lots of great chat coming in about former players being linked and all the rest of it. I'll message Tony now, say you've been linked to us again, buddy. But I do think Kvistgaard is like, somebody mentioned he's the most linked player to Celtic ever. I do think he is like in the Kuhn Abada kind of transfer bracket. And for every Kuhn and Abada, there's an Odenholm and a Yang and a Tilio and whatever. I get that. But I think Kvistgaard at 22, like I was dubious on Kvistgaard until maybe this recent time we've been linked to him, because his form's always been spotted. There's always been an injury here or there. But if you look at him now, like he's had a real good run of games. He's really excelled, it looks like. And if you keep tabs on a guy like that and you still manage to get them at a good price in a sweet position, then I'm all up for Celtic doing it. And if Brendan thinks he can play through the middle or they can do something with him, then I'll get behind it, of course. But like the comment says, or one of them said earlier, I think it might be a different type of player. And Kvistgaard doesn't look like the sort of player I think is going to get brought in personally. Maybe it's Tony Watt that comes back. Maybe Ryan Fraser is one of the other ones that's in the chat, as well as Stephen Fletcher, if that's the sort of striker we're going for. But and we've hit 88 likes, guys. We've flown past it. We're at 95. We're hunting down 119. But I think it's all but done and dusted. I don't think Lennon Miller's going to be happening. It feels like he is going to be going to Germany or Italy. and he's not getting any interest in signing for us, or obviously for them. That's never going to happen anyway. I don't think the fee, etc., is that crazy. But I think he just wants to go abroad. He wants to live that best life with Billy Gilmore and Lewis Ferguson and all the rest of it, go abroad and make his name. So there's also a bit of a space in midfield for us to do something as well. I wouldn't rule out we do something like about that in this window, although it's certainly nowhere near the top of the shopping list, as we know. Because even if we do bring in KT, we don't secure GT, we still need to get our left back from somewhere, like to some extent. So still, it's still far from being quiet on the Western Front in that one. But yeah, I would take Tony back. I'd take Tony back as if we ever needed a third striker, like a Scott Bain type, who's just going to be in, good guy in training, knows the club, will show the new signings around town and all that, get the chickens out, that good stuff. Play 4 games a year. I can see Tony living that life and being quite chuffed about it. Get Neil Lennon back in the middle. Gary O'Connor. Some belters in the chat, by the way. Guys are heroes and legends. I hope you've all subscribed. And normally around this time of the show, McBride, we like to try and put on the Tom Fords. We like to try and put on Brendan's shoes and try and predict the team that we're going to be playing this game week. Now, you've already kind of jumped ahead and done a prediction. We'll check that out in a little second. But with the Villa game being kind of important, I think Brendan is good, but personal pride. Brendan's not going to want to go there and get humped Dortmund style. He's going to want to go there and get something from the game, even if it's just, without Dyson and Kyogo, we did all right. As long as that's the minimum. I don't think Rodgers is expecting anything other. He'll be looking at his Champions League record from this season and thinking, if I can scalp Villa, it'll make Brendan and the ego, Gucci belts and all that. Like it'll be good for him. So as we put on the Tom Fords this week to prepare for Dundee, how much of the Villa game comes into the Dundee game, do you think, McBride? In terms of the thinking, the match prep?
I think the main one is, I think you've got to play Maeda at the weekend because he can't play, obviously, because he got red cards. I think he's nailed. He plays, then he just gets a break because he doesn't need to go to Birmingham. So that's fair. I think there's a weird dynamic at the back where every time we get a midweek, me and you think that maybe Carter Vickers is going to be rested, and then he's just strolling about and just bossing games and just never been rested. But then we went through that spell where we think that eventually someone will catch up with him, but maybe he's just, touch wood, fingers crossed, he's over some of that stuff now. Greg Taylor looks like Valley's just on the waiting list for Como, waiting on something happening. So, it looks like he's very much back up there. Johnson seems pretty nailed, obviously. And then midfield, I don't know, it did kind of look as if Engels went off either with a bit of a knock or cramp. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a wee bit of a change in there, because I think a lot of the home games, obviously, Brendan's maybe introduced McCowan and things like that. So I think looking ahead to the Villa game, I think we've rotated, or we've managed the squad pretty well through that proper intensive period. Extended the gap, done the business in the Champions League, left ourselves in a position where we can bring in one or two and look forward to the second half. But Ida's got to start, you would have thought, and Dyson, be pretty certain to start, I think, given he can't play. And then out with that, it's been a more settled team last couple of games. The Kilmarnock game and the game yesterday, like identical teams, which wasn't really the case.
Yeah. I'm just trying to put everyone on screen that's maybe kind of half in the frame for this one. And by the way, Johnny Kenny off the bench this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, I think it'd been actually a good game just to roll Eid out again, because whether or not it was a big chance missed, he was buzzing with that, right? He was buzzing. He was claiming involvement in that. It was, never mind Hatati's unbelievable pass through there. That was all me. I deliberately hit that off the goalkeeper so that it could hit that guy and go back into net, that type of thing. But he was loving it. Just like any Celtic fan was, and obviously spoken before, but he's fond of the club and everything, which is good. And then, you definitely could see a situation where we maybe, like Nicholas Kuhn maybe could start on the bench just from the point of view of actually he's your one man that you would want to rely on in Aston Villa with the kind of counter-attack pace, because Maeda's not playing and Furahashi's isn't there. Maybe Johnny Kenny. Can Johnny Kenny play Villa? I don't think he can he? Because he's come back, this window recalled, so he can't play at Villa. So you maybe have Ida starting and maybe Kenny coming on for the last half an hour, 20 minutes or something.
I think Yang and Kuhn could do that kind of thing as well. Because Yang will need minutes before the game. Like you say, Dyson probably just gets burned in the 90 since he won't play Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then you give Kuhn the hour, give Yang half an hour or something like that. Maybe even 45 it could be. So the front three kind of does pick itself, doesn't it? There's no space for Palma now, is there? Even with all the moves.
I don't think so. I think Celtic were kind of actively trying to get him away. The conundrum with Furuhashi going as well is not just Jota coming in and solving one of the wing positions. So if someone says that you're signing Jota, then you say, well, that's okay, you don't really need Palma anymore. So that's fine. But then you've lost somebody from the front three as well. So then you've got to add in again type thing. But I think like overall numbers, we've not, I mean, you'll never get as insane a spell as what we had over Christmas. All these games, I mean, the last like maybe 6 weeks or whatever, there's been a game like every 3 or 4 days, and we've still managed that period and had the flu and everything in the middle of it, or Trusty and Carter Vickers had. So we'll still manage that. But yeah, there'll be some changes. I think maybe it'll not be wholesale changes, but I think you'll maybe see the sort of 2 or 3, including obviously Furuhashi, and then some minutes managed from the bench, and then we'll go again, try and get down there and use it as a learning experience as well, because it'll be an important sort of setup to see the type of game that you're going to come up against when you get into the playoffs, because it's a home and away thing, won't it? So playoffs. So you're getting back to a kind of cup tie format or whatever, so it's a good sort of testing ground for that as well, to say, right, this is the type of team you're going to have to be playing against in the next stage of this competition. So, test out some of the setup. We adapted a lot at Atlanta away. We went quite men behind the ball stuff, which, not really the way we play, but that struck me when we looked at the table earlier as well. Dortmund battered us, and we're now in the same points as Dortmund. I know their managers get sacked and they've been rotten, but we've recovered well, because we could have easily let heads get down type thing. But we've done well.
And Pat, you maybe missed the beginning of the show. No one's wishing Kyogo away. We are very much in mourning, but it's a happy mourning because he's no died or anything. He's away to fulfill the rest of his ambitions for his career. So fair play to him and all that. We will miss him, and hopefully we can become stronger without him, just as football clubs tend to do. Moving into midfield, we've got McGregor probably quite nailed on for this. You did mention Engels coming off. I didn't really read the injury element of the substitution. Anyone in the chat, feel free to enlighten me. But I did think Hatate got the 90 minutes against Young Boys, and I could easily see McKeown, who I think he has played 100% of matches versus teams called Dundee or Dundee United this season. So when I seen Hatate and McKeown didn't high five each other and swap over against Young Boys, when I was thinking into tonight or into this weekend coming, I thought McKeown's surely going to play against Dundee at home, and Hatate probably comes from the bench on this one. How do you read midfield?
I think the only thing with that is we didn't do that well against Dundee away. Now, credit to Dundee because they played well. Scored a goal in the counter. They scored a goal for a corner. They never created a high amount of expected goals or anything, but they played well, and they had a few sort of ones from outside the box where you think that might go in. So I don't know if he'll mess about with it a lot, but I would seem natural that he would want to freshen Rio up. I think the funny thing with Hatate is he's a real sort of confidence player as well. Sometimes when he's playing well, Brendan just keeps him in, So could you see McGregor, Hatate and McKeown, given it's a home game, or will it be like McGregor, Hatate and Bernardo, and then McKeown like coming on half an hour to go? It's going to be an interesting one, obviously, in terms of how that shakes out. I don't really know. I think that from Engels' point of view, he puts in a lot of box-to-box running in the midfield, and I think that it would be a naturally good game just to bring him on for the bench. Also, I think with young players, you'll see a lot of managers will take them back out of the limelight after they've made a mistake, and it's not a case of saying, well, if you make a mistake, you're going to get dropped. It's just to protect them a wee bit as well, so that. Now, I don't think he's that type. I think he handles the general pressure pretty well. But he's made a mistake. He's missed a penalty. We've got away with it, which is good. It'll become a huge thing. but that'll be playing on his mind a wee bit. So maybe he just starts on the bench and then comes on at the end just to freshen him up a wee bit for that game, because he's going to be one of the guys you're going to need a lot of energy with, or from, sorry, Aston Villa away. But I don't think there'll be many changes at the back. But you could, given the run that Trusty and Carter Vickers have played, you could see Scales just coming in just to give CCV a wee rest, you know, because I think is that like 7 games or something he's played now, like
It's
consecutive.
It's like 9 or 10, mate. Let's go and look at it. I'm sure it was
More than
9
10.
on SO5, but I think that the cup final, or there's a cup game in there as well. So
Kelly,
let's go and yeah, Kelly. That's what I meant. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go and peep it. So yeah, since Motherwell, he's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 90 minutes every 3 days. Big Carter Vickers, unrested, unsubbed. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm buzzing for him, because we never thought, when he signed that 5-year contract with us, Vickers, I said it, he can't sign for somebody else at a higher level because of his injuries and whatever. Maybe that's still somewhat true, but I never thought we would get a burn like this out of him. You know, winter period, every 3 days, 90 minutes, no hiccups, no scares, no Willie make-its. He's been there every game, you know, and again, like you said earlier in the show, coming into this game, I don't know how he plays game 10 if you want to play him against Aston Villa.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could see that, but also I think trusting Carter Vickers. Well, I mean, they didn't really stroll the young boys team game because the big lad up front was a bit of a physical presence. I think he caused some issues. But I think generally speaking, they don't do as much running as like Johnson and Greg Taylor do. I mean, Greg Taylor's turning up away up there, winning a penalty and stuff, you know, and
Yeah.
Carter Vickers is just strolling about at the back. So if there was anybody, then basically that could do that, then it probably would be Carter Vickers. If assuming that he's actually he's passed some of those issues, but that's why he got the knee cleanup done, wasn't it? Like, you know, he got that done because it was an issue, and they were saying, well, that would obviously like solve the problem. But if it was the same back four, I wouldn't be hugely surprised. But I think you'll see maybe 1 or 2 changes in midfield and the obvious changes either for Furuhashi. Maybe you will get Scales in as well. It would make sense to me. But
I think Scales, Trusty, Johnson, Taylor's the back four, personally. I think Dundee, like you say, they gave us a really tough game. And Trusty obviously get kind of mugged off for one of the goals or whatever, but I think like he'll kind of learned his lesson from that and he'll be all the better for it. But yeah, I can't see how Vickers, if he can play this game and then the Villa game and get to 11 games in a row every 3 days, 90 minutes, wow, my opinion of him will be totally changed. But I think, I do think like Trusty probably keeps the spot, and I think Scales gets the minutes here because Scales is still showing that he is like first off the bench, kind of, not first off the bench, you know, but if Rodgers is making another sub, Scales is in the equation somewhere. We've seen that for the last few games, going to 5 at the back, playing him at left back. You know, there's been a few interesting bits. So Scales has been kept warm. That's kind of how I read that, you know. And I think that's something that Rodgers certainly values. The midfield, I didn't really see much of an Engels injury thing, personally. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Engels McEwen. I think that's been a great pair for us domestically. I don't think Hatate starts this one just because he played the 90. I think he comes off the bench. Personally, McGregor probably starts. I think Bernardo Engels is... I think if Engels doesn't play, maybe Hatate does, but I don't know. I think this is the team that we go out with at the weekend, personally.
could be. I mean, Engels has done really well in the home games as well. I'm just thinking that... Yeah, it's a wee bit of a weird scenario because we've built a really good lead and also because we have got through in the Champions League. So you wouldn't really have thought we'd be in this position at many points in the season. Who knows? We're guessing to an extent, aren't we? We could just roll out like Ida for Furuhashi and put the whole of the rest of the team out and just say that's my first team now. I've done all my rotation and, you know, that's it. You know, I don't know what's coming up. I know that in February we've got a cup game against Raith Rovers at home, so that would maybe be naturally a game where you would get some guys, hopefully some minutes, not disrespecting them, but, you know, got opportunities like that. Then, you know, against Kilmarnock, the issue, I guess, Kilmarnock are a decent team and, you know, he's want to win a treble, right? You know, so it's like, you know, want to take it too lightly type thing. But the calendar eases a wee bit And then I think after the Wraith game, it looks as if there's no game there, but I think that midweek
Champions
is
League.
the Champions League playoff. So,
Yeah. And cups.
Yep. So there's a lot happening, obviously, still. But, against Wraith Rovers, you would like to see Johnny Kenny or whatever get a start. If you're not going to play guys in games like that, then when are you ever going to start them, You're just going to wait until you've won the league and then give them a game at the end of the season. I guess you could. But in my mind, just because we didn't beat Dundee the last time, I think that he'll take this pretty seriously,
This is the team you've went for. Essentially just the same as last night, but fix the strikers out.
Well, yeah, I mean, the percentages have been lowered a wee bit. You see, I've got Engels down at 55%. Carter Vickers and Trusty down to 75. Maeda pretty nailed to play. Ida nailed to play. I do think Kuhn could start as well. And then the midfield's kind of, the toughest call. I think the thing with Scales is that you can't really give him any higher percentage than around about 25%, because every time we thought he was going to start recently, he's not started. Totally. So how can you actually predict him to start? Like, you've got to say Trusty and Carter Vickers are the favourites to actually start, but 75% quite low given that all the games they've played recently. So the trick in there is people should be considering whether Scales will take one of those places, but who knows? It could be that he just leaves. You're battery exhausted. Been talking for too long. Get to the reserve. Trusty got a hard time. Trusty got a hard time against Dundee the last time, so you could see Scales and Carter Vickers, and then Carter Vickers coming off at 60 or whatever. You just don't know what he's going to do. I mean, that's you need to ask Brendan. Brendan, if you're watching, if you could tell us the team in advance, that'd be great, because it's really important from a Sorare point of view. We want to win and stuff. We've bought all these Celtic cards, and we need to know, and need to get 5 out of 5 for the lineup. So it can also be one of those where people don't start, but they still get some minutes. But I guess if Carter Vickers doesn't start and you're winning, then there's no real reason for him to actually come on, So that's the kind of most difficult one from a fantasy football point of view.
McBride's a leak. I'm with you. I managed to go through all my teams in preparation for the weekend without playing Carter Vickers, Scales, or Trusty. I think I used one Trusty. I take that back. Sorry. I just think he's probably the safest of the three of them. But I went the whole teams without picking any of them, just to kind of dodge the risk or whatever. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be emotional. And then we're setting up for Villa next week. It's going to be like, time is just going to go like that over the next couple of days. I really hope the match tomorrow isn't postponed or cancelled or whatever, because it's just going to add into a fixture pile up again later on. Let's get back to paradise. Let's get the celebrations. Let's really put Dundee to the sword. And we normally have really good matches after Champions League, like good results like that, come back to party atmosphere, full house, and especially if we've got Jota coming out the tunnel holding the shirt, getting welcomed back to paradise. It should be good crack as well. And the last thing we always finish the show on, McBride, is a score prediction for the weekend. I think if the game goes ahead, it's party time. Dundee, as we know, no pushovers when we've played them recently, but they do still have no knees Trevor Carson in goals. By all accounts, we look at the Dundee team here. So same team, essentially. No change to last time. Maybe there's one change that I'm missing, but basically looks the same for the most part. I'm hopeful we could score the chances we didn't score against Young Boys. I'm going to go with 5-0.
5-0. That's quite ambitious. Ida's not really filling me with a lot of confidence at the moment, so I was thinking maybe 2 or 3-0. So, we did score 3 goals away at Dundee. I'll go for 3-0. Things different proposition at Celtic Park. I mean, Dundee might not be as boisterous as they were up there, and they played really well up there. I mean, they're a decent team. You can't discount them. But Celtic did make changes, I think, against Dundee earlier on in the season. Home, I think it was a bit it took a while to get going, and then we scored 2 or 3 in the second half. So it could be something kind of similar to that. But I mean, if that lassie's singing Jota on the wing before the game and he walks out with a bumblebee top on, it could be a 9-0. I mean, the place will be absolutely buzzing, refreshed after a day off work tomorrow, because nobody can get a train, plane, or an automobile or anything. So hopefully, if he's coming over, he comes over tonight, because he'll not be flying anywhere in Scotland between 10 o'clock and 5 tomorrow due to that big thing that made me crap my pants on my phone earlier. So
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, apparently the flight's on the go now, so maybe we'll see him at Paradise tomorrow. You never know. For anyone that's been watching this after we've been live, get into the comment section, drop your man of the match shouts, drop your score prediction shouts for the weekend, of course. And again, for anyone that's watching this after we've been live, at the end of the video on screen, we'll be putting the breaking news that we did earlier for Kyogo and Jota. We're going through the squad dynamic, the depth, the options, all that kind of stuff as well. Who I would sign, did a wee bit of that fun as well as the breakdown of the Young Boys game. If you didn't catch that, it will be linked on screen as well, basically. Like the now, if you're not watching live, if you are watching live, fist bump to every one of you. Thanks to all you heroes and legends that have been joining in on the show tonight. We're at 111 likes. The last magic number we wanted to get to was 119, which will soon be, by the end of this season, 121. But let's get a couple of likes up, guys, just before we finish the show off. Me and McBride have both did our score predictions. I think that's pretty much all there is time for. McBride, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, mate.
It's been an emotional one. Unbelievable. I still don't believe that some of this stuff's actually happening today. But yeah, let's hope we wake up tomorrow and we've got one of those nice announcements to go with the one that we're not going to like. There we go. We're all on. We're the famous Glasgow Celtic. Players will come and go. We are the champions.
What else needs to be said? Hail, hail, everyone. Mon the hoops.
Mon the hoops.